Hi, this is Dr. Carina Lopez from Vitalist Healing Traditions, and today we discuss Vitalist Therapeutics, where once a month we talk about a alternative medicine and its healing properties so it can help you and your family. And enjoy our different categories from Vitalist Therapeutics, Vitalist Assessment, and Vitalist Praxis. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Today we're talking about one of the most feared herbs on the planet, but also one of the most nutritious and healing herbs, and that is poke. But first, let's learn how to identify poke. You really know the poke when you look at the berries. I mean, look at these beautiful black berries. These berries are when you get the mature plant. The green are when you have the young plant. But the really young plant will not have red stems like these. In fact, the stems will be green. And this beautiful perennial poke plant is a lot smaller in the spring. And that's when it's edible. Of course, with all those washings. But essentially, you want it when it's really green and really small to eat. And the medicine, why you want it right now, especially these berries where all the chi is going right into the berries. The leaves are really smooth and the stems are really smooth. I mean, it's just incredible. You can really feel a nice smoothness to them. But the leaves get really big. I mean, look over here. You have a tiny leaf and then, whoa, we've got a big one and sometimes even bigger. So the leaves vary in size and they all come to a little pointy tip. It's quite a beautiful, beautiful plant, but smelling the leaves, why, they don't smell so good when you crush them. And that's also something of an indicator. And that's essentially our poke. Now, when we think about how to use Phytolacca, we have to think about its temperature. And Phytolacca by the eclectics has been considered something that was more cooling and drying. So what type of person would that match? Think of a person who's really flabby, who's really hot, who's really stuck. And if they open their mouth, you might see a big flabby tongue with some purple spots indicating stagnation from a Chinese standpoint. Now, going deeper, what can poke help with? So poke has been used to help with a various amount of things. But number one is it's considered a blood cleanser. It helps remove stagnation. It helps to move lymph. So what does that look like? That looks like any type of lymph swellings, right? That also looks like any type of cysts. That looks like edema, which are swelling in your glands, or let's say any type of swelling in your extremities. It looks like respiratory infections, and the eclectics would even use it for something as big as cancer. So poke has a wide range of different healing tools. Now poke, according to Dr. Raymond Christopher, a renowned herbalist, is used for swollen, enlarged, hard glands, such as any type of spleen enlargement or enlargement of the thyroid. It's also used for skin symptoms. But remember this, poke has to be used for a long-term use because it's slow and persistent in its actions, which is why the eclectics would use it as an alternative in combination with other herbs to help clean out and detox the lymph and the blood. But let's go back to why poke has been considered extremely dangerous. And that is, it has a profound purging action. And it could be lethal at certain doses. So really, you have to use the tiniest amount, 1 drop. And who are the kings and queens of tiny? Why, those are the homeopathic doctors. Let's talk about what homeopathy brings when we think about poke. Now, when you use an herb homeopathically, that's when you come into the magic of the minimum dose, where any lethality is taken away. And the way that works is homeopaths actually dilute the remedies to the point that there's no material dose. They dilute it, they shake it so many times and so many different quantities of water over and over again that it's actually less than Avogadro's number. So again, no material dose. Now the homeopaths successfully use Phytolacca, i.e. our poke herb, for things like A, glandular issues, as the Native Americans did in an herbal dose, not a homeopathic. But the homeopaths also used it for chronic rheumatism, for things like tetanus as it cleans out the blood, for sore throats, and for so much more, even scar tissue. So really, you have a breadth of safe utilization when you think of it homeopathically. But that doesn't mean that when a skilled herbalist uses Phytolacca in tiny little doses, such as drop doses, that they are not getting effects with rheumatism, skin issues, throat issues, and so much more. But safety first, so I would think about the homeopathic dose as well, especially if the remedy fits. Now, as much as we're talking about the dangers and the low potency or the tiny drop doses for a medicine for poke, can you imagine that there are festivals where people eat something called poke salad, which are essentially the leaves of poke? But how are they doing this? So, essentially, you get the young leaves, the baby leaves, before they turn this beautiful red, purple color, before the branches turn red and purple. So the whole plant is green and low. And then what they do is they boil the plant, sometimes 2 times over. So you throw out the water, you boil it, then you boil it again, and you throw out the water again. But what I would tell you is that you want to keep boiling and changing the water until the plant doesn't taste bitter anymore, and always focusing on the young first. And before you even decide to try poke, I would first go to an herbalist that knows, go on an herb walk with a certified herbalist, or have even more fun and go to one of the poke salad festivals down south in America, where you will taste many different recipes with poke and learn from our elders, because that's the way you can get that poke in. But why take that medicine as a young herb and as a food? Because medicinal foods are everything, and poke especially has wonderful B vitamins, wonderful sources of iron, rich minerals, as well as our potent phytopharmacognosy, which are those ingredients, those constituents that heal our bodies. And that's what we want. We want to think as our food, as our medicine, but make it tasty too. Okay, so let's talk about some wonderful testimonies as to the power of poke. Christine Brown, who writes Herbal Root Sign, her 2018 magazine, which is wonderful by the way, all her Herbal Root Sign issues talk about herbs and encourage different activities for children, so I encourage you to get that. Nonetheless, her issue spoke about her daughter and how her daughter had a swollen tender lymph node. She went to the doctor, there was no clear signs of infection, so she said, She grabbed some poke root the size of a toothpick, threw it in a pot of water, cooked it up, and gave her daughter sips throughout the day. Well, guess what? In the morning, that lymph node was gone. Another story from Herbal Ed, who owns the company Herb Farm, which I'm sure all of you guys know. He essentially spoke of a story of a woman with acute mastitis that he saw. Now, echinacea and Phytolacca are wonderful for mastitis, but he advised her to do 30 drops of echinacea every 2 hours and then 5 drops of Phytolacca. She got that mixed up. So she took 30 drops of Phytolacca every 2 hours. By the second hour, or the second time she did it, which was 4 hours later, she was throwing up and purging everywhere. And she called him up and he asked her if she had any vision blurriness, which is a sign of Phytolacca toxicity. She did not. And of course she was very thirsty, because anyone who's taking poke, by the way, should maintain hydration. Water is really important because when you're cleaning out your lymph, you want to drink water to move that out. Anyway, so he said, okay. She was fine. And he told her that she essentially had the equivalent of a 7-day detox. I mean, really purging out her system. But guess what? In the morning, the mastitis was gone. And that's just a sample of the miracles of poke. But wait, I've got my own story. So I was seeing a man who came to me with breast cancer. He had gotten the tumor removed, but his doctor had advised chemo. Now, I believe in free choice, and he decided that he did not want chemo. So we started on him on a comprehensive protocol, testimony by the way, in my YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. And guess what? He took Phytolacca homeopathically. And would you believe it's been 6 years and he's been seeing his oncologist yearly to get checked up? And guess what? No cancer. So that's a wonderful story of poke. Now, you've got to be really careful with any type of contraindications. Poke should not be used during pregnancy. Poke should not be used during lactation. That's really very important. And many people suggest do not use poke for an acute infection. Again, because of that adage that poke should be used over a chronic period of time as its workings are slow but long lasting. And so you have to take it kind of like you would a sip of tea over a long period of time. Poke Phytolacca is magical. Do you know that at night there is an oxidizing enzyme whereupon the leaves glow? Now, if you eat poke, you know that you're going to throw up all over the place, but that reminds me of how you heal. You have to purge everything out to find your inner light. And poke will help you do that. It will help you release all that's been stored, the lymph, the blood, the stagnation, all that's been held onto. And you will find your inner light through the darkness of whatever has been holding you back. Now the ink from the berries are purple. This connects with our crown chakra, which really ascends us, brings us to our highest capability. So with poke, why, you can find your love of loves within yourself, find your guiding light, and find that peace. This is Dr. Carina Lopez with Vitalist Healing Traditions. Please like and subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and also remember one beautiful thing. True healing ignites life. Have a great day.